just physical, mental, spiritual. Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis.
Hello again, and welcome back. I'm losing track of the number of podcasts this is, but I'm again having a blast. How about that game? How about the Super Bowl yesterday? How awesome was that? Now I don't know if you're a Chiefs fan, it may not be too awesome for you, clearly. But everybody, I have a Super Bowl party pretty much every year at my house, and everybody there was rooting for the Eagles, including myself. So I think that I'm not sure if you guys have checked out and seen some of the Chiefs games and how they're kind of favored. The referees are really soft, and give Mahomes these penalties when he gets barely touched, and that to me is just a little discouraging. It's kind of it's almost like they're cheating, but it's just a little bit of favoritism, I guess. But I haven't seen anything like that ever. I'm telling you, I got to the point really where I was tired of seeing all these penalties go, for the Chiefs and them getting extra yardage. I remember somebody was talking about how the Chiefs Bills game that they counted at least 7 times where the referee spotted the ball a yard further. Actually, it was a yard shorter for the Bills on every like when they spotted the ball. It could have been a third down or something, and it was the ball was spotted a yard shorter than it was what really should have been. So that's not right clearly. But anyways, one thing too is with regards to the game itself and how it went. That was a butt whipping. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but out of the gate, the word, the phrase, or the thought that comes to my mind when I was watching those Eagles play was they were prepared. My gosh, I've seen great games, I've seen great performances, but the running game wasn't the greatest. We'll give them that, But with regards to just kind of their, all the plays, defense played great, special teams great. How about Jake Elliott? Wow, he was on fire. And I noticed, I think there was 3 times in the game where they had maybe an offensive penalty or some penalty during a kick, and he had to re-kick them like 3 times. I don't think that's ever happened. I've never seen that happen before. But I remember, when I was played, I had to kick a ball 3 different times on one attempt. I made the first 2. Of course, we had a penalty, and then there was a penalty in the next one. There was replay. And then, of course, the third one, you'd think it's a charm, and I missed that one. I'm like, golly. So that was kind of a bummer. But it does play with your mind a little bit. So, but yeah, the whole team was on fire, man. Mahomes, he had 3 picks, 2 or 3 picks. He had that fumble. So, I guess 3 turnovers. But yeah, it was a different team out there for the Eagles. I think they were just really sharp. But with regards to just kind of the things that I'm going to talk about today, kind of what's on my mind is really what happens when, what goes through the minds of these players while they're preparing, the mental side of the game when they're approaching the game. So I've been 1 game away from the Super Bowl 2 times in my NFL career. So I can't say it was the Super Bowl preparation. I can't give you that as a personal experience, but I can definitely give you AFC Championship personal experience. But I'll give you that information. We'll chat for a little while after a word from our sponsor. When we get back, we'll talk about the mental preparation for big games like the Super Bowl.
At 3, we want to give you the true health benefits that you're paying for, something you can feel and see a difference quickly. Each product is packed with powerful plant-based nutrients that are combined through a proprietary curation process and then infused with innovative cellular absorption technologies to ensure the nutrients absorb into the cells for maximum wellness. The quality and effectiveness of our life-changing products is evident by their approval to be included in the well-known Prescriber's Digital Reference, or PDR. PDR has been a valuable resource to the medical doctors and providers in the healthcare community for decades. Our products are GMO-free, clinically studied, and third-party tested. All designed to support health and proactive wellness for everyone.
Welcome back. So yeah, the big game yesterday, that was a huge, huge game. I know that I've been to 3 Super Bowls, I think, as a spectator, not as a player, as I mentioned before the break there. My experience watching those games, it's kind of a different atmosphere because it's not like the home team, although clearly but people travel from all over the world to come watch this game, and you got to be you got to be pretty wealthy to buy seats for these games anymore these days. But so it's a different crowd than normal. That's the first thing I noticed. Was just like kind of weird. People were not cheering as loud as they would in a normal game. But honestly, it's what is there 2 billion people worldwide watch that. It's the most watched sports game or event ever. Okay, it's every year they get the most amount of views for the Super Bowl. Likely, obviously it's a great opportunity for the commercials are great. I didn't really get to see a lot of commercials. Like I said, I had the party, so I was entertaining a lot of people. So I did watch the game. I did watch it again today just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But um, ultimately, a great showing. When you get into those kind of games as the kicker, it's a little different. When regards to your mental preparation. I've said in previous podcasts that my preparation for big games is no different than any game because my job is still the same. It's going to be the same motion, same routine, same everything, right? There's nothing that I need to be all hyped up. As a matter of fact, I personally believe it hinders a kicker's performance if he gets too hyped up. If you let the significance of this game get in your head and feel that this game is the most important game ever. Yes, subconsciously, it's if you've only played in one Super Bowl and you just a lifetime opportunity. Yes, clearly it's the most important game you're going to play in your life. However, you cannot treat it that way because when you do, you kick differently, you go faster. Think, I got to get this kick. I don't want them blocked, and so there's a lot of things that would go through a kicker's mind to kind of keep them, to understand the game and the importance of each kick during the game. But in all reality, honestly, I was, this is my opinion, of course, but with regards to even with the stuff I teach, I always teach, trust your form, trust the mechanics, trust the things that you've done every single day of practice when you've made, 90% or more of your kicks, maybe 100% of your kicks, so why would you do anything different when it matters more? Every kick matters the same. Every game should be the same. Now, again, I'm referring to kickers. I have seen as a player, watching my teammates prepare for playoff games. Yes, playoff games are a little faster. Just everybody kind of steps up their game a little bit because you really know at that point that your season is over if you lose the game. And then, of course, obviously, the money's great too, of course, but it's extra bonus money for the year. But you definitely, obviously, we're all there to win championship games. We're there to get to the Super Bowl. That's the dream for all NFL players for the most part, I would assume, is to win big games and get into playoffs. And obviously the team is rooting for that as well. The city's rooting for the team to get in the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of pressure to get to the Super Bowl. And you'd be surprised of how many people, former players and guys that I've hung out with who have played in the league for a long, long time. Your Dan Marinos, your guys that have never made it to the Super Bowl. They played 13, 14, 20 years of football and never made it to the Super Bowl. So that's a huge game. But the mental side of that, and getting back to obviously the point of the podcast and kind of my focus of what I want to talk about is the mental preparation. Mental preparation. I'll say it again, preparation. Okay. The mental preparation, when you use that word preparation, I think that you use as a speaker, or if you're you're taking a test in college, anything that you're doing that you have to prepare for. If you don't prepare enough, you're not going to have confidence in yourself, and you're going to probably be really nervous. So, as a speaker, I've done plenty of speeches, and the best ones that I like, the ones that I like the best when I'm doing these talks in front of schools or corporations. But when you get into the corporations and the businesses that are hiring you to do that for, team motivation, things like that, they kind of want you to talk about certain things, and so you definitely have to prepare for those. But for the most part, when I'm coming in to speak with a football team or something, and it could be just something minor, I just speak from my heart. I just tell them how it is. That's the thing too, is that when you kind of know where your heart is and your passion is, the experiences you've had, you don't really have to prepare. I'm an impromptu kind of person, I'll say. So, but in the events that I do have to prepare, if I don't prepare enough, I'm nervous, and I'm just hoping I don't miss certain, bullet points of information that I prepared, to speak about. So the preparation of the mental side of the game. Again, there's two sides of it. I'm going to focus. I mean, I've kind of already explained the kicker side of it. I literally just did. It's a very simple thing, simple but not, because it's an important game. But the preparation really is in the way I treated it. Every game, yes, they're important, but again, trying to calm myself down and not putting any more stress or pressure on myself. I tried to just simplify it, just like dumb it down. Like, okay, well, these are just kicks that I normally do every day. When you get into the other, the team preparation, you got to think about there's two sides of that as well for anybody really. I can include myself in these as well, but the physical preparation and the mental preparation. Okay, so and when I'm kind of referring to, well, actually maybe that'd be three parts. The mental preparation is just you kind of just mentally getting prepared, just kind of focusing, maybe some visualization, maybe just just thinking all day long about how you're going to play on that game day, on that Super Bowl. But the other parts are, the physical preparation. Obviously, you still want to be training, but you got to be careful. These guys get 2 weeks for the Super Bowl to prepare. So I know those strength coaches and the trainers, they know exactly what they're doing. They're very, very smart people. So the physical preparation is kind of something that, the coach obviously is going to control, and the strength coach and the trainers and things like that. Now, when you get into the other preparation I'm referring to is the classroom preparation. I know for a fact that, when we're in the playoffs, there's teams that we're going to possibly face. So I know that coaches are already watching some video on some of the teams that are possible, teams that we're going to play in the future, maybe next week, or, depending on, obviously when you get into the semifinals and so forth, there's not many teams left that you're going to play. So you don't have to watch as much film, but I'm telling you, the preparation that these guys had, and I say these guys, I'm referring to the Eagles because, oh my gosh, they were so sharp. They were so physical. They were so prepared. Again, as I mentioned, when we opened up the podcast, the word or the phrase or any thought that came to my mind when I was watching that game was, God, man, these guys are prepared. And it. If you've been around the game enough to see it, when these guys are prepared. They just, the running game wasn't the greatest, but I think Kansas City really prepared for that. So kudos to Kansas City for shutting the run game down. However, they still lost by a large margin. I mean, what was the score? 40-22. So, in the first half, I can't remember the halftime score, but it was a lot by, Philadelphia scored a lot of points. And I know everyone's like, what's happening? And you can see it on Mahomes' face. He wasn't real happy, but, again, just going into the preparation part of just these big games, there's a process of kind of preparing, physically, mentally, and in the classroom. So you definitely have opportunities, we're grown men, those weeks prior to big games, we've had guys on the teams that have gone out, and they just, but again, it's kind of maybe the routine that they do. They don't do anything. They don't stay at home. They don't, they're always going out sometimes. And, we've sometimes called some guys out like, hey man, you got to stop going to the bars, on Friday night, we got a game on Saturday or Sunday. Well, maybe not Saturday. Hopefully that you weren't going out on Friday night for a game on Saturday, but you got a game on Sunday. That's 2 days prior to the game. So, and these guys go out, they stay out for a while. So, it's definitely, you have to be accountable. Okay. So we're talking about teammates now and it's kind of being accountable for your team. And it's all in the preparation. I played for Tom Coughlin for 7 years when he was in Jacksonville, and the head coach for the Jaguars. And of course he goes on to win a couple of Super Bowls with the Giants. But Tom Coughlin was the most prepared individual I've ever been around. I don't know anybody who's ever been more prepared. Now he prepares himself, but he also prepares his team. So when you think about the NFL, it's a game of inches. I mean, it's a very physical game, and things can happen pretty quickly. So you have to be prepared, and there are times when you're not prepared, and maybe there's things that would have never happened before in a game, and like, what the heck, what just happened there? Well, you have to be very impromptu, like I was mentioning before. You just have to just react and kind of understand that there are situations that but when you have that preparation in past situations that are maybe similar to what you're experiencing in that real time, it's much easier to get through those quickly. Now, again, when I say quickly, the things happen so quick on the field. So you have to really focus on your preparation of course of what you're doing on a daily basis, really, when you're practicing and in putting these scenarios in your head. And with regards to like Tom Coughlin, when we played in games or stadiums where it's very loud, we would bring speaker systems out on the practice field, and during the play calling and during the actual offensive drills where the whole teams are out there, offense defense, they'll turn the static up. It's really a obnoxious, really loud static. It's like cheer, like it's so loud and obnoxious. It sounds like really, I don't even know. Static is the only word I can come up with, but it's just really, really painful, honestly. And then of course, when they're doing field goal drill, they do that as well. So you get, again, preparation. You want to be accustomed to what the territory is going to be like. It's going to be loud. I remember we were playing, I think, the Jets in a playoff game or something, and the week before, I think it had snowed or something, and they made a big stink about all the fans throwing snowballs on the field, and so you saw a lot of snowballs falling down during the plays even. And so guess what we had to do? Of course, we're here in Florida, so there's no snowballs to be thrown, but we just white socks. They would just roll up white socks and then throw socks at us. And that became a thing for me as a kicker. They went, it was like every Friday, or no, I think it was Wednesday. Every Wednesday we would do field goal, and they just kept throwing socks at me. And so they prepared for that one game, because it was cold and there were snowballs, but they took it a step further and just kept throwing them at me. So that's okay. I mean, it's all good. It's teaches you focus and all that, but the preparation as far as just kind of understanding and knowing what you're about to go into. I'm a big person on like smell for whatever reason. When you smell a certain smell, it brings you back to memories in your head. You remember things. You're like, oh, I remember this. This is exactly where I was. And so kind of the smells of stadiums, the appearances, I always tend to just watch, look at the goalposts. Obviously they're the same on every field, but what's in the background, what's like Detroit Stadium had, it looked like there was shopping in the Detroit Lions Stadium there. Looked like you could look up the bleachers and see like shops in the background. So I remember that. So every time I would go to a new stadium, never been before, I would always kind of study some things. And so that I knew that when I went back to that stadium again, especially the teams that we played in the AFC South and AFC East, you remember those stadiums. You know where the wind is as a kicker. You were definitely pretty conscious about that. But so the mental preparation and kind of understanding and just putting yourself, it's kind of like the visualization thing that the kickers do, people do. I really didn't do a lot of that. I maybe did it like in high school before I really knew, what kicking was kind of, formally, and knew what things to focus on. You've known in previous podcasts, I've talked about trusting your form, trusting your process, trusting the system. And don't do anything more or less than you've always done. So I've always been really a big fan of trusting the process and not caring. Now I know I said that, a while ago, but not caring where the ball goes. Like, wait, how do you not care where the ball goes? You're trying to make a field goal, right? You want to win the game. Well, that's not the most important thing, believe it or not. The process of what you do when you kick a football is, because the football's not going to go anywhere until you kick it. Okay, so the process of you kicking the football is before the actual act of the ball going through the upright. So you got to focus on the process. And so my mental preparation in big games, going back to AFC Championship games twice, those were big games. One was in New England. It was really cold. The lights went out right before Adam Vinatieri was about to kick a field goal. And it was freezing. I think it was like in the 20s. It was so cold. And then, of course, the lights went out and all the power went out in the stadium. And they got the power back on. But, poor Adam, he was very impressed. I was very impressed. It was a decent distant field goal. And he hit it no problem. For me, I'd be like, gosh, this kind of stinks. The time that kickers have to wait for the play to happen is not a great time. It's not fun because you want to get it over with. You want to make the kick and kick off and then get on with the game. But I thought it was pretty good for Adam Vinatieri. And talk about mental preparation and ice in his veins. That's a guy that is an incredible athlete, incredible, mentally incredibly strong. So when you're talking about big games like that, incredibly important to not now I'm referring to kickers again, not over prepare. Don't think you have to do anything more on game day. It's the same operation, the same things. They might be coming, the field goal block team, might be coming at you. Okay. Cause they're, matter of fact, I think that's what happened yesterday when Jake Elliott had the penalties. Like there was a lot of movement on the line a couple of times. Even the snapper had a penalty against him. I think he might have glitched or something, but that's the thing is like they wanted to block. I mean, every point is important in the game. And so I know that the special teams coaches are getting these guys like, hey, listen, don't relax on field goals. We got an opportunity to block a field goal. Let's do it. So I know obviously in the big game like this, they put more emphasis on that stuff. But however, as a kicker, that's not my job. My job isn't to block for me. I'm a kicker. I'm kicking the ball. My job is to kick the football. The guys up front, that's their job, is to keep guys out. So again, why would I can't worry about what's going to happen. So again, for a kicker, there's nothing different. Now, players, on the other hand, there's a lot of preparation. And I will tell you that, obviously I didn't make a Super Bowl. I never played in a Super Bowl before, but I can promise you those AFC Championship games were pretty intense. The one we played in, the one I mentioned before, we played the Patriots. And yes, I felt that way about the Patriots as well. Mr. Kicker Update had a comment about that. I felt the same way about the Patriots. I'm like, man, I'm tired of seeing Tom Brady win all these games all the time. And now it's Patrick Mahomes. But that game was against the Patriots in New England. And then the other AFC championship game I played in was in Jacksonville. We had home field advantage. We were 14-2 that year. Only 2 losses we had were against those pesky Titans. And that AFC championship game was against the Titans as well. And we lost that one too. So we lost 3 games. All 3 games we lost that year were from one team. Jeff Fisher had our number that year for sure. But getting into those games, the preparation, there are extra meeting times. Guys are watching a lot more film, a lot more work in the training room, getting those nicks, squared away and getting those injuries all healed and taken care of. So a lot of preparation, especially for the Super Bowl. Like I said, you got 2 weeks of preparation for that. So you have an opportunity to, get everything all squared away and prepare as much as you can. However, talking about preparation, I know that even coaches sometimes will over prepare. And what I mean by that is they will, they'll try to come up with different plays and schemes. Our special teams coach will put a throwback, on a kickoff return or something because they see, but again, it's not, I don't think it's a bad thing because when you watch film and you see tendencies from teams, like for example, an onside kick, a surprise, let me rephrase that, a surprise onside kick back when we were able to do them. Now they have to actually announce they're doing them, but when you see like the one guy or on either side of the front 5, when he starts to take off a little early to get a little head start on the run before you kick off, they see that on film. So they see the guy starting to take off before the ball's even kicked. Well, guess what? Now that's susceptible. So we might have to do a surprise onside kick to the right because the guy on the right keeps leaving early. So coaches and teams, they see that kind of stuff. And so that's another way, obviously, of preparing. But what I mean by over preparing is throwing, it's like a throwback or something that's pretty aggressive, a play that could go good or it could go bad. Sometimes the coaches kind of seem to out scheme themselves. We had a lot of movement on kickoff coverage at times when I was playing for the Jaguars, and it was kind of to throw off the kickoff return team because they kind of have certain numbers that they're looking at, and guys are not lined up in the lane they're supposed to be or they thought they were, and so we're moving before the ball is kicked, and then they find their lane as the ball's being kicked, and so but sometimes you're trying too hard at that point. It's kind of like that kicking thing I talk about. When you're trying too hard to make the kick, sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And so I think this over planning or over scheming sometimes doesn't go your way because you've just gone too far. It's a play that just didn't work. So like I said before, NFL is a game of inches. It's such a minor, especially when you got two really good teams. And of course, I don't know why that game was so lopsided. It wasn't very competitive in the sense that the Chiefs didn't perform very well. So, but typically teams in games are pretty close, and that there's all these NFL guys. We're at the top level of football in the world. Everybody's looking for an edge, an advantage. They're trying to find what it is that they can take advantage of against certain teams. But like I said before, there you can over prepare. So the concept of mentally preparing yourself for a game really is shouldn't be any different on game days. I understand Super Bowl is a big deal, but I'd like to think the players, even, yes, they should be playing hard on every game, every play, regardless of what the situation is. It's just a regular season game. Who cares, But yeah, you're getting paid. This is your job, as a player. So there are times when players take plays off. There are times when players just don't want to go on the field because maybe they are just tired. They got their money, and yeah, believe me, I've seen a couple of them. There's a few guys that I've been around on teams that were kind of selfish, we'll say. But most of the guys, clearly, they're trying to win. We all want to win. So the preparation for those games and the way, everybody has different ways of preparing. Locker rooms typically pretty quiet on game day. Some guys, Tom Coughlin wouldn't let us play music in the locker room, and if you wanted music for your game day preparation, you had to wear headphones, so everyone didn't need to listen to all your music. So, those games like that, though, those important games, those playoff games, it is a different atmosphere. Everyone seems to be a little bit more uptight, more so the coaches. Players actually kind of just cool, like chill. Some guys, tend to get a little bit nervous, and you can see it. But everyone's got their own way of preparing. Whether it's on game day before the game or if it's that week of preparation. I know that when I was playing, the Mondays, after just a typical Monday after a Sunday game, that's not. I'm not thinking about the Sunday game following. I'm not like preparing for our next game on Monday. I'm pretty chill. I'm hanging out. We don't do any kicking. It's usually just a workout day and meeting day. Watch film, go over videos and stuff. Then when you get into, Tuesday was our day off, and then Wednesday is your first day of really, practice for the week. And even those days, I didn't treat any different. Yeah, I knew the game was coming up. And so the closer to Sunday we got, the more nervous I got, because every game day I was nervous. Not because I didn't prepare. I wasn't good at being calm. When I smile and when I just have a conversation, I think to myself, well, I'm not preparing myself because I'm joking with some guys before the game, and then I get back in my mode and try to calm myself down again. And but that it really is the mindset you have to have. And for kickers out there who are watching this, as well as I do, after the first kick of the game, if it goes well, if you make the kick, like the first field goal or kickoff, you hit it pretty well. Usually it's the first kickoff for me, at least, or I'm sorry, first field goal or extra point. If I hit that well, I'm like, okay, this is no big deal. So I'm really pretty much typically nervous up until that first kick, whether it's an extra point or a field goal. Kickoff, not so much, but after that first kick, I'm like, okay, no big deal. I'm right back to where I was, last week. This is another NFL football game. All right, let's go. Let's play. So. Again, it's kind of that routine thing, and that's another thing about preparation too. Everyone's got their own routine on how they prepare, but mentally, for games that are big like the Super Bowl, I think most guys, would have that mentality where, they're definitely playing hard on every snap, because there's a lot to lose, in the Super Bowl. Everybody, if you got to the Super Bowl, clearly. Everybody on that football team is going to want to win, clearly, because it's a topic. It's a conversation piece. I know people who have Super Bowl rings. Gerald Ingram was a coach for the running backs coach for us here in Jacksonville, and then also went with Tom Coughlin up in New York. And he's got 2 Super Bowl rings from the Giants that he always has on him. And he's always sharing them too. He tells people, "Hey, put them on and put your hands up like this and get a picture with them." And so I think that's pretty cool. But again, my point is that really not everybody gets Super Bowl rings, because I mentioned before that there's a lot of players that have never gotten to the Super Bowl. So getting to that Super Bowl can be incredibly hectic. I thought in '99, I thought we were going to beat the Titans and go into the Super Bowl, and we were actually preparing. We actually had, family that we were going to, get tickets for, and just all kinds of things. We're already kind of thinking ahead. Maybe that was our problem. Maybe, too many people were thinking ahead, thinking we were going to beat these Titans. It was a different atmosphere. It's a playoff. And those other two games we lost to them, those were just flukes or something. But I think, guys, that after that game, we had a very quiet locker room. That was a very rough loss. But with regards to just, again, going back to the point, the preparation for these big games it's got to be a routine, whatever you've always done. That's kind of my point. Is like you don't want to do any more preparation or any less as far as what you would typically do. I understand that, like I mentioned before, the physical, the mental, and the classroom preparation. Clearly, you're going to do more of the classroom probably because you got 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. But with regards to just the regular preparation, that shouldn't change too much, honestly. So that's my big point for the day for this podcast, is that just the preparation for circumstances that have more meaning. The preparation should be pretty light. It should be the same. Don't overdo it. And I've witnessed it myself, me personally, and I've witnessed it from other kickers. I've witnessed it from players who have done things differently, and it didn't work out too well. So that's the thing. Stay consistent when you're playing football at the highest level in the world. There's a lot of importance placed on consistency, and that's a very broad word. Consistency in all aspects of your practice, your nutrition, get into that, of course, your supplements, all that stuff. There's a routine, and I wasn't big on changing up stuff. So I fit right in with this whole, I'm not going to prepare any more or less. I got nervous if I tried to change things. And I think it's for obvious reasons, because I was like, I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I wanted to make sure that I was preparing a typical way every day, every game, no matter what the game was. Now, again, I can't tell you from personal experience about the Super Bowl for me, but I can promise you there are guys that probably do a little bit of over preparing. You're not going to under prepare, I don't think, for the Super Bowl, I would assume. But getting back to Jake Elliott, he was on fire yesterday, and he doesn't really. I've watched him over his career, and I've seen some of the things that the way he's kicked, and he had some rough seasons back when he was younger, but the ball was just flying off his foot yesterday. He had the one kick that kind of shaded the inside, the right upright, but for the most part, his kicks were great height, great rotation. Like I was like, wow. And then having to have those I think 3 kicks that he had to re-kick, no problem. You could see it on his face too. He was enjoying himself. He's having a good time. So kudos to him for having such a great game, and kudos to the Eagles. Hats off to the Eagles for winning that game the way they did. I think a lot of people are pretty happy about that, especially if they were kind of like me, tired of seeing the Chiefs win all the time and tired of Mahomes getting all these penalties, for him and and all that. So I was hoping that the Eagles would win. I had no idea they were going to win that good, but hats off to that whole city of Philadelphia. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the Eagles and that coach, man, that young coach. Kudos to him as well, man. That was a great accomplishment that he had. And I always think, like, the day after the games, big games like that, what are they doing right now when they wake up in the morning? Or did they even sleep? Like, what's it going to feel like when they wake up in the morning and say, I just won the Super Bowl yesterday? And, referring to that coach, I was thinking, man, he woke up in the morning today and said, man, what an amazing experience. And obviously you all understand that, anybody playing this game and winning Super Bowls, we're going to remember those big games the rest of our lives, clearly. So a lot more meaning for us as players with those victories. So with that said, we'll end this podcast by just really referring to the aspect of mental preparation, and don't over or underdo it. Stay consistent with your preparation. Find that system. Find that routine, and stick with it regardless of what game it is. What's the meaning of this game? Every single game is important, and that's the way every player should play. Me as a kicker, it's pretty standard for me. I mean, I know some kickers don't. They try harder certain games, but for me, I had to be real consistent in just my mentality and my anxiety. I had to just go with the flow. Don't be anxious. and be prepared. That's what you do. When you're training, you're going to these stadiums and you're thinking of things and looking and smelling, and you're training yourself to remember how those games were. And so that when you go back in that stadium, you could just say, oh, I was just here yesterday or something, whatever. But you remember how you played in that game. You remember certain things about that game. So it was familiar. So again, getting familiar with your routine, getting familiar with the environment you're going to be playing in, that is all under preparation. So with that said, I hope you guys have an amazing night, and we will see you next Monday night at 5:30 Eastern. Have a good night.
Thank you for watching Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.